Welcome to Motoroids, guys. My name is Amit and this is the Ford Figo. Yes, you know that, but there is something new this time. This one is the petrol version and now it comes with an automatic. Yes, Ford have introduced a 6-speed proper torque converter automatic to the 1.2 litre 3-cylinder petrol unit on this car. Now, you have been familiar with this car. I'll just refresh you a little bit. This is one of the best handling cars, while the 1.2 petrol isn't the most amazing petrol unit. But if you want to go with diesel, don't think twice. Go with the 1.5 diesel version of this car. It's very fuel efficient and one of the best cars to drive. However, coming back to the topic, there are some things that I want to mention here. The headlights are capable enough, but you don't have any DRLs here. You have these pilot lamps. And on this unit, it's got a cellular grille which looks very, very nice. And the rest of the face is pretty familiar. You've seen this. You get these fog lamps and these chrome surrounds. The car overall is very, very well proportioned. However, this is not the most modern looking or probably the most attractive cars. However, in terms of its proportions, it still stands out. You get these special 15-inch alloy wheels on the automatic variant. And the ground clearance is sufficient. Even over bad bumps, you will not have any problem. At the rear also, you don't have any LED units. You have those traditional bulbs, rear wash wipe, high mount stop lamp, and you do get a rear view camera with a reasonably good resolution, and you also get these rear parking sensors. Now the boot space here is 257 litres, which is par for the course. Swift has slightly more boot space with 268 litres. The Grand i10 Neos has 260 litres, which is just 3 litres more. But the Tiago is substantially lesser at 242 litres. Now, while these seats can be dropped like so, I really wish that these were 60-40 split as well, so that there was more flexibility. So that's the boot, guys. And we are going to get behind the steering wheel right away. But before that, you also need to have a look at this key where you have the lock and unlock buttons, and you can release the boot as well by pressing this button twice. Now it's easy to get lured by features in the form of touchscreens and ambient lighting and whatnot, but there is still a very solid feel to the closing of the doors, and when you drive this car, you do indeed feel like you're driving a very solid, very, very well built car. Now, you don't have proximity sensors, so you will have to take the key out and unlock the door when you get inside. And now let's get behind the steering wheel and see what the new transmission is all about. Alright guys, so let's get straight down to business. And although we are familiar with this petrol unit, it's been around for some time, and it's a 3-cylinder petrol unit, and it boasts the most amount of power in the segment if you talk about the naturally aspirated engines within this class. Although if you include the turbo petrol versions of some cars, there you have a lot more power. But if you look at the naturally aspirated versions, you get the most amount of power in this car. And it's a 3-cylinder engine, so I cannot say that it's the most refined, but it is reasonably spirited. And 96 PS of peak power is segment leading in a way. The next best power figure you have is from the Swift at 89 PS. And the peak torque here is 119 Newton meters. Now, while the peak power is produced at 6,500 RPM, the peak torque is produced at 4,250 RPM. Now, what does that translate into? We did a little test, and with this automatic, this car does its 0 to 100 run in about 14 seconds, which cannot be called very quick, but we did not expect it to. And generally, the manual gearboxes are quicker, and that reflected in the timings of this car as well. Now, this 6-speed automatic transmission, which by the way is a torque converter unit, is definitely more advanced than your AMTs that you'll find on a lot of other cars like the Swift, and shifts more smoothly, so you don't get that typical head nod that you get when you lift your foot off and press the pedal again while driving an AMT. So in that sense, it's more refined, it's a little bit more smooth, and the shifts happen in a more advanced, more sophisticated kind of a manner. And on top of that, what Ford have done is that they have given a sport mode as well, wherein the shifts are a little bit more aggressive so that you can drive in a spirited manner. And in addition to that, you also get these plus and minus buttons here. So when you're in sport mode, you can use these buttons to manually shift up using the plus button or shift down using the minus button. Now, that is the functionality of it. But how does it perform? Well, one thing is very clear, that this torque converter is not for the spirited drivers. It's not something which is very sporty. It obviously will add a lot to the convenience of those who are driving in bumper to bumper conditions. So that is something very, very obvious. Doing a bit of testing and driving this car around revealed that putting your foot down does not lead to an immediate downshift. So it does take a wee bit before it shifts down. However, it also depends on the throttle position, and it is an intelligent transmission, so to say. However, this is not one of the quickest transmissions that we have come across. It's very smooth, it's very capable. However, if you want to put your foot down and want to get instant acceleration, it does take a wee bit. It responds very beautifully to part throttle, and I personally believe that that's the kind of application that it is going to be used primarily for. It's not the kind of car that you would probably be hooning around corners. Now, the other thing is, in terms of its operating range, if you want to shift up, you will have to keep it above 2000 RPM if you want to shift into a higher gear manually. And if you want to be shifting down, you will have to keep it below 3000 RPM. And that's the range within which the manual shifts will happen if you really want to take control. Apart from that, the engine is such that there is the tractability from 1000 RPM onwards, but it gets more and more pronounced as you move towards the 3000 RPM mark, and it feels very solid from 3000 RPM onwards. The transmission allows you to go all the way up to 6800 RPM in the first gear, and from that gear onwards, the limiter cuts in and gears upshift at 6500 RPM. You cannot hold on to a gear using the manual mode also, and as soon as the needle hits the limiter, it drops down and it shifts into the next gear. Now, this is a reasonably refined motor. I'm not complaining. This is a 3-cylinder unit, so obviously it cannot be as refined or as spirited as a 4-cylinder motor, and that's a difference that is evident when you rev it hard. It is not one of the most rev happy engines that we have come across, and if you compare it with something like, say, the Swift's engine seems more intent and a little bit more refined also. Another important thing that you need to keep in mind is that this being a torque converter is not going to give you fuel efficiency which is comparable to the IMTs or the AMTs of the world. So while the fuel efficiency in some AMTs is actually more than what you get on the manual transmissions, here the fuel efficiency is nothing to write home about, and you would get about 14 kilometers to the liter officially, which would translate into about 11 kilometers in the city and about 15 kilometers to the liter on the highway. Now, that is about the engine and transmission, but where this car really excels is its very beautifully set up steering, which feels very alive, which places you on the road in a very precise kind of a manner, and you really can chuck this car around corners if you are in the mood. While this engine is not the best suited for that kind of use, with the diesel this car turns into a different monster. However, the beautiful ride and handling characteristics are still there, and if you want to have a lot of fun with this car, the dynamic ability of this car is always going to delight you. So in terms of the steering and the suspension, I think this is one of the best packages in this segment, and that is where the Ford Figo always shines. A few other things which really make it special again, A is that it comes with traction control, and which really is a great feature to have in this segment of cars. So really appreciate Ford for having given that feature. It also comes with hill hold, where the car doesn't roll back for 3 seconds. Apart from that, in terms of safety, Ford have done a lot, and this is the only car in the segment that offers 6 airbags if you so wish, and that really is something which is very important for a lot of people. So if you want a safe car, a steady car which handles really well, then the Ford Figo really stamps its authority over the segment. It is indeed a very good transmission. It spells a lot of convenience. However, the fuel efficiency is something which isn't too great, and the second thing is that this combination is not meant for very spirited driving, but from a functional standpoint, it's brilliant. There is nothing to complain about. Definitely a lot better than the other AMTs that you have in this segment. However, if you're looking for fuel economy, then you probably need to look elsewhere. Now, while this car handles beautifully, the ride quality is also something that needs to be mentioned, and of all the cars that we have here, this car glides over bad surfaces, over bad bumps, and if you're looking for a car that keeps you comfortable, goes over bad roads really well, and has a fantastic ride quality, then again the Figo really shines. And its suspension is something that really needs a special mention, and it's probably one of the best packages out there, not just for handling but for the ride quality as well. Now open the door and you will be welcomed by an all black interior. You have a very functional door panel with a lot of space, power windows, lock for the rear window, and a piano black door pull as well. The quality of materials is decent for the class. It's very well finished, although you have soft to touch padding only here near the arm pad area. And the seats are also in typical Ford fashion, built very well. You have a seat height adjust, which is obviously manual, and the seats are reasonably wide. The height is good enough, and the steering is adjustable for height, not for reach. You have the controls for lights here. You also get a button here for boot release. Instrument console is not very modern looking, however you will get all the information that you need, including your average fuel efficiency and a lot of other features. Now, while this instrument console may not look very advanced, this car comes with Ford Pass, which means that using an app you can turn the car on or off remotely, and there are up to 55 features which you can use using the phone. And this car indeed might not look very modern, but it does come with remote app control features, which is highly sought after these days. You also get a push button start stop for the engine. Now the steering is very chunky, very nice to hold, with piano black inserts in the middle. Controls are right here. You have this 7-inch touchscreen with embedded navigation. The sound quality of the audio is very good. You have climate control here. There is a dedicated button for navigation, as you can see, and this is very nice. While touch is good, I really appreciate the fact that there are hard buttons, because sometimes using the touchscreen distracts the driver, and I really believe that having hard buttons is a plus. The quality and finish of everything is very nice, although you don't have soft to touch materials, but the interior has a typical Ford stamp of quality about it. There are no jagged edges. Everything is finished very nicely, and it has a sense of finesse about it. You have this platform here where you can put your cell phone or wallet. You have a USB socket, an aux in, and a 12-volt power socket. This is the drive selector, and you have a lot of space here as well, where you can probably put a wallet, 2 cup holders, and a water bottle holder at the rear as well. So you have tons of space here, and Ford have really paid a lot of attention in providing a lot of space to store all your items like your wallet, cell phone, or other loose items that you might have. The glove box is reasonably sized, although this is not cooled, and the seat quality is very comfortable. I really like the cushioning at the bottom, and while this is not one of the most bolstered, side bolstered seats that I've come across, it's reasonably well bolstered and goes well with the fact that this car handles pretty well. You get a toll ticket holder here and a vanity mirror. Another great feature is that you have auto dimming mirrors. The controls for light are here. You get a rear view camera with guidelines, and the resolution is reasonably good, although this is not the best I've seen. While this touchscreen might not look like much to you, however, Ford's touchscreens are some of the best in business when it comes to touch response, and you really have to give it to them that they have created a system which is very high on functionality. The resolution is also very nice, and it's a joy to use. While this car might not look like a very high-tech car, but trust me, this car is one of the most well-equipped cars in the segment, and it gets these automatic lights, it gets these rain-sensing wipers, it gets both front and rear fog lamps, and there are a lot of features here which you probably won't expect it to have, but in my personal opinion, this is one of the most well-equipped cars in this segment. In terms of safety, as I mentioned, if you want, this is the only car in the segment which comes with up to 6 airbags, and if you care about the safety of your family, this is a great car to buy, because it comes with 6 airbags and it comes with ABS with traction control and ESP, and also in terms of handling and dynamic ability, this is one of the most capable cars in the segment. So active safety as well as passive safety, both are taken care of very well. Let's have a look at the back seat as well. Big omission, while Ford has provided a lot of areas to store your bottles and whatnot up front, there is no bottle holder on the rear door panel. There is this small crevice here to pull the door in, or maybe put your wallet in. Like the front, you have a soft padding here. Entry is easy, and there is ample amount of headroom here, no dearth of headroom. So even 6-footers or taller people can sit here comfortably. Now this is the longest car in its class. It has the longest wheelbase. Although this is not the tallest, Swift is slightly taller and slightly wider, but this being the car with the longest wheelbase releases a lot of space in the back seat, and as you can see, there is ample amount of knee room and leg room, so that is not a problem at all. There is a decent amount of thigh support as well, and the seat is such that you can actually seat 3 abreast here, although you don't have a headrest for the 3rd passenger, but the 2 passengers on the side do get adjustable headrests. The seat can be dropped down. An omission again here is the fact that there is no rear AC vent, and would have really appreciated had there been an AC vent here. No light for the rear passengers as well. Now while you can seat a 3rd passenger, you don't get a 3-point seat belt. Obviously for this class you get a lap belt, but you have a seat belt nonetheless. And a small thing that you'll miss is a handle, because this car comes with 6 airbags, so you don't have a handle here. And overall, this is a comfortable seat. Is this the most plush seat that I have sat in this segment? Probably not, but this is comfortable enough, and it's one of the more comfortable seats in this segment, and the space here is also quite commendable. Now the prices for this car have not been revealed yet. However, what we understand is that Ford is planning to price this car in a manner where it fights toe to toe with the Swift AMT. Now that's big news, because the AMT as a technology is much cheaper, and to offer a proper torque converter at the same price as the Swift AMT is going to be a good value for those who care for the smoothness and the refinement of a torque converter. This automatic will be available in Titanium and Titanium Plus variants, and from what I understand, the price would be 8.5 lakh rupees ex-showroom for the top of the line Titanium Plus variant, and I think the lower Titanium variant would cost about 7.6 to 7.7 lakh rupees, which is going to be exactly the same as the Swift. Now it has its own advantages in the form of its handling, its ride, and in terms of a more sophisticated automatic transmission, and it has its drawbacks also in terms of the fuel efficiency and some missing features as well. Now the Figo also comes with a 3-year 100,000 kilometers warranty, which is comparable to the best in business, and you can also check the cost of service and maintenance online, which again is something which would add to your peace of mind. Now you can make your choice based on what your priorities are, and when the car is launched and the prices are announced, I would really recommend that you go out and have a test drive of this car as well if you're looking for an automatic in this segment. I really hope that this video was of some use to you. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Motoroids. Always put Motoroids in your searches so that you can look for our content and watch it if you like our long format videos. And until next time, this is Amit signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.